Hi, I'm Turk Strongman at Thuranki Ramacharaka. Thank you for selecting this video on allowing psychological or behavioral conditions to run their course, but without them becoming a nearly irreversible habit. But before I get started, if by the end of the video you like it, give it a thumb up. I'll remind you later too. If you haven't done so already, then please take the time right now to subscribe to the channel, activate the notification bell feature, and as always, share the joy of the channel with others. Now, with those things having been humbly requested, on with the show! All right. Allowing things to run their course. Psychological or behavioral states of affairs. Without them becoming habit that's really insinuated itself deeply within you and now is almost irreversible. What do I mean by run their course? Let me give you an example. Not one that I advise, but an example. Okay. A few years back, I ran into conditions. Conditions entered my life, my home. Actually, there was really no escape from them. Conditions that pretty much floored me energetically and psychologically. I began to just lay around. The stress level, by the way, was really high, and it just stayed there for a good while. It zapped me, and I took just laying around a lot, not doing much. This went on for a few years. Somebody came along and said, I was getting some psychotherapy for a little while over a specific matter. Borderline personality disorder. Well, it started PTSD as the main thing, but then borderline personality disorder was uncovered after a year and a half, and then a little while on, about that. And anyway, during this time, it was pointed out to me that I must be depressed. I didn't feel depressed. I laid around a lot. I really didn't have any interest in affairs. Lost interest. Well, that's a sign of depression. Well, I didn't feel depressed. I didn't accept that. Not like deep within inside I really know it's just denial at work. No, I wasn't buying into it. I wasn't biting the assessment. No. I ended up saying, there's a lot of with the reasons why this started with me were so, they were so extreme that perhaps there's just a lot of time now that is required to not do much, like slow down, stop for a while, and allow things to work themselves through. Like me get caught up now with all of this, like emotionally, somehow, cognitively. But it's taking place at a subconscious level. Consciously, I'm just like stuck, almost at times not feeling anything, like traumatized. Maybe it just needs to run its course. And then, once it's done that, things will change. Well, after a while longer, it did run its course. I no longer, I developed interest in my own affairs and started doing more things. Getting up off my butt and doing more things. And I thought, it feels like it's kind of like run its course, or I'm seeing the first signs of that. Yeah. And that's the way it felt. I didn't feel any less depressed or more depressed. Either way, I still wasn't biting into that. Things just had to run their course. Okay, that's what I mean, right? Now, whether that became a habit of mine after a while, like, yeah, to an extent, it did. That's why this might not be the best, I'm not giving this example as a suggestion. just a suggestion of what I mean by allowing things to run their course. Yeah, it did to an extent. Unless things are just still running their course, but it felt like a bad habit toward the end. It did, but then things ran their course. In large, I think that's what happened. Okay, so there's also what I mean by rather than become a habit. Perhaps it's irreversible. I'm sure, given the example I gave of letting things run their course just a moment ago, you can see how that could just become a way of the life, a way of being, like from then on. I'm sure you can see that. So that's what I mean. Now, how do you do this? How, when you are faced with engaging in something, in some behavior or thought pattern that you certainly don't want to have become a habit, but maybe it feels like it's something that needs to run its course. In other words, let's say let's expand this a little bit to another level and think of karma. Have you ever considered whether if you are currently engaging in something or you have a desire to engage in some kind of activity, perhaps activity, and you wonder, should I ignore that? Should I move beyond it? Should I replace that thought or that behavior immediately, like proactively, do something different? In other words, with the hope that in time it's not a part of your consciousness anymore. It's just like, it's past. It's past. It's no longer a thing. Or do you go ahead on the assumption that if you did that first thing, it would still be nagging you all the time, just more latent or less noticeably? Or do you go ahead and indulge it in the hopes or with the plan to let it run its course, and then it'll be done, out of there? No longer a thing. Yeah. Would it become a habit? Would it only become stronger by giving it that attention, and thereby empowering its control over your mind, over you? All right. Have you ever wondered, which do I do? Which is the way to really get it out of the way? Make it so like in my next life, it's not going to be there. It's not going to be a thing. Once again, either because some time ago, you either engaged in it until it burned out, or you ignored it to the point where it faded away. Well, first of all, you have to kind of be able to figure out whether something is going on, bugging you, whatever, happening, that feels like it's something that's pretty much necessary for you to be able to move forward in life. It has to run its course. For example, like if I had just ignored that I need to lay around for a while, just like stop. If I had ignored that, or just not done it simply because I saw it as an unfavorable state of affairs, and something that could become a bad habit. So I didn't do it. Well, then it would still be bothering me, right? Because it was a bunch of emotional responses, a bunch of hard-hitting reality stuff that it traumatized me, and it needed it to get worked through. And it required me to slow down, stop. But it came to me in the form of, I have no interest anymore in anything. Okay. But I had to let that happen. Otherwise, it wouldn't have got its due attention. My responses to the conditions, my internal responses to the conditions, wouldn't have got their due attention. Therefore, they would still need their due attention, and they would not stop with their effects, whatever they are, whatever they got redirected into being by my ignoring what they were trying to do in the first place, wouldn't have got his due attention. They'll still be there, waiting for their due attention. That's what would have happened. But I let it run its course. I knew from the start, though, that what my body did was just stop much action. What my mind did was just stop much action. This was not something I desired in the first place. No, it took place as an initial response. Then the rest followed, laying around not doing much for a while. Okay, that was number one. I sort of detected. Now, I didn't think outrightly, overtly, this is something that needs to run its course, so that I can move forward. I can heal, whatever you want to call it. No. But the initial state of affairs did come about because it did, my body and mind did that. Seemingly something that it needed to do, see? So that's a clue for you. If something comes about like that, then probably it's something, it might just be something that needs to run its course. Number two, be aware of that distinction between something running its course and becoming a habit, a bad habit. Just stay aware of that. Stay aware of that. Be aware of it. Number three, if you have a strong tendency toward addictive behavior or forming habits quickly, and like losing if you also have a tendency to not have good judgment over what things you do along these lines in life, then be more cautious. Be more cautious. Maybe you'll have to surrender some of the things that have to run their course because they're fringe, in that decision, in that assessment of things. Maybe you'll miss your opportunity, have to miss your opportunity because things could go in the wrong direction while letting them run their course. Be also aware of self-deception over these things. But if you can identify a situation, a state of affairs with yourself in these manners, that seems like this is something that should run its course, it's probably going to be something that just needs your attention. All right? It just needs your attention. And sometimes your attention is subconscious. If you submit to your subconscious mind at the outset, after making a decision, I'm going to let this run its course. I think this needs to run its course. Then submit to your subconscious mind. In other words, focusedly considering the meaning of each word and repetitively affirm quietly to your subconscious mind intentionally that when it's done with what it needs to do right now as things run their course, then let you know consciously, all right, It's done. And subconscious mind, this is not meant to become a habit. All right? It's in my best interests, and therefore you're working in the same way. Let me know when it's time. All right? Just bring to my awareness, it's done now. When it's done, running its course. That will help you immensely. That's enough for now. Now, did you like the video? If you did, give it a thumb up. Like I said, I was going to remind you. And if you didn't do it at the beginning of the video, then do it now, please. Take the time to subscribe to the channel. Activate the notification bell feature. And as always, share the joy of the channel with others. You heard it first. Right here on Tharangu Ramacharaka. I'm Turk Strongman. Go be well.